Hello, everybody, and welcome to one of our more amazing webinars. Today, we've got a very exciting guest. We are joined by Craig Howard from SourceFlow. Craig, thank you so much for joining us. Come and introduce yourself.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for having me. An interesting guest. That's the first time I've been described as that. So I'm Craig Howard. I head up sales at SourceFlow. SourceFlow are a website marketing vendor to the recruitment sector. Been doing this for probably more than I've got fingers and toes to count on now, really. It's well, not quite, but about 13 years working only in the recruitment sector, various different tech vendors, have been fairly successful. Was part of a team that took Volcanic from where it was to a growth of I think 1150%. So nice. Yeah, pretty exciting times, and now I'm at SourceFlow doing it all over again.
There we go. I love that. And so you guys do just recruitment websites. So you're like me and what we do at Restack, really, really niche, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, just got to focus on that one vertical. Yeah. I think there's so many businesses out there that try and be everything to everybody. What we've done over the years, I mean, I've been very fortunate to do the same job a number of times at different businesses. So, even in some cases, selling to the same people 2-3 times. So, yeah, it's great. I love the recruitment sector. It's vibrant. It's forever changing. And marketers, this whole sort of marketers and salespeople not working together is just not a thing in my world. We have a revenue team in our business, and I get on pretty well with a lot of the marketers I work with.
Oh, that's what we like to hear. I'm very pleased for you. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Holly Langley and I'm the founder of Restack, and we work exclusively with Bullhorn customers to help them maximize every part of their tech stack. And that includes the stuff that comes through from websites and the applications to make sure that those candidates have a great experience as well. So over the course of the next sort of 15-20 minutes, we're gonna take you through a bit of a journey, really, aren't we? We're gonna look at kind of what was happening, like kind of when we both sort of started out. We're gonna look at kind of how we're managing the attributions and kind of where we think that websites are going, like moving forward. So, Craig, over to you. Where should we start?
I think that's probably like you say, it's a little bit of a recruitment marketing and recruitment tech history lesson, right? What I want to talk about is obviously providing, ROI for marketers in the recruitment tech sector. It's bloody hard, and my journey started probably around 13 years ago. The one thing I know from working with marketers in recruitment for an awfully long time is quite often marketers can be undervalued, or certainly feel like they're undervalued versus sales, right? Sales, like myself, we get all the glory, we get all the commission, we get all the good bits and the high fives when they do a deal. But actually, a lot of the time, it's the hard work the marketers doing behind the scenes that allow me to then knock them goals in the net. I've said it many times. I've probably said it to you. My colleague Will in our business is an integral part of what we do, and we're an absolute, a solid team, and that's what makes us successful. I know it's a really tough job, really, really tough job. And what makes it even harder is the data makes it pretty hard because there are huge gaps, right? The biggest challenge for a marketer, in my opinion, is proving that influence and showing people that ROI, because the data sets are incomplete. The tech typically only tracks the last touch. It's not looking before that. It's not actually taking into consideration what the marketer's done to drive these opportunities into the business.
And what's also really interesting is there's so many different ways to measure the ROI. Like if you're looking at something from a website point of view, one of the key metrics to me is how many applicants are we actually adding from the website. That's really useful. We want to know that, right? But actually, also we can delve into, well, what pages did they come from, or more importantly, who's getting added and who isn't being spoken to. How many candidates are we getting from the website that are being ignored or don't have a valuable point of contact? And then that's before you've even got started on how many then had CVs, interviews, placements, what have you. So there's so many different ways. It can definitely be a bit of a minefield about how to really navigate and how you measure this.
Completely agree. I think one of the other things that people don't think about, particularly in my world, is what happened before the website. How did people get to the website? What drove them there? A lot of the time, and you work with a lot of people that do this as well, you've got people sending out campaigns. They're sending out information, how-to guides, new jobs, new opportunities to lapse candidates, to lapse clients, that are then driving people back to the website. And that whole piece of how they got there is missing.
Yeah. I'd never thought of that before. I'd never thought of that. Now, interestingly, a lot of the stuff that we do on our work within Bullhorn Automation, we're referring people to the website constantly because we are sending them engagements, we're sending them links and various things like that. But we then don't necessarily always know fully what happens after they've gone on that journey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so much. There's a lot to think about, isn't there?
Yeah.
I'm sitting here now thinking, for our website that I know needs some attention, where are these people coming from? When I finish this call, I'm going to go and have a look and see what our traffic is like and how they're getting there, because I definitely don't look at that enough for myself.
I mean, there's multiple different ways to track it. I mean, the main one for most people is going to be using things like Google Analytics, and I think is essential. And what concerns me even today is the amount of businesses I speak to, or marketers in businesses or business owners, that don't have analytics set up on their website. They've got no way of understanding what is actually working on that website, but more importantly, how people are finding them and how that's driving them in. The problem there is that that end-to-end attribution that a marketer wants to see is broken, because they want to know from campaign to placement what's happening. So the full journey's missed out, and it's crazy, really. That's what makes the marketing job harder, in my opinion. Really is.
Sure, because there's key points in the process that are just missing. So if we take a look at that, I think you just said the attribution gap. Talk me more about that, and like what trends are you seeing at the moment, and like how do you propose people can sort of overcome it?
Well, when you think about recruitment websites and how they've changed over the years, just to set the scene. So, when I started years ago, it was quite common for people to have what I would call a brochure site, right? Jobs, if they had jobs on there, were minimal. A lot of the time they'd be plugged in from whatever tech they were using, be it something like a Broadbean or even a CRM. And then we saw the evolution of websites over the years. So I think, no secret, a lot of website tech is kind of copied from the world of job boards, because early stage recruitment website platforms, they were just essentially your own branded job board with logins and all this stuff that people can do. Then we've seen things start to change, and people have started to look at other industries. So we look at e-commerce, for example. A number of businesses I've worked at, there's been a number of updates to platforms I've worked on and offered to customers, where they've borrowed some of the things from e-commerce, like basket abandonment and quick apply. We see now, never used to be a thing. You have to fill out War and Peace to apply for a job. Whereas now, a couple of data points, because society's changed. We've become an on-demand society. So websites are now revenue generation engines, and because of that, there's a whole new set of data that you can get access to, right? You can see where your candidates are coming from, where your client leads are coming from, the journey that people have gone on through the website. You can use heat maps within the website to understand what people are looking at, because at every level you want to be looking and tweaking that conversion to make sure it's the optimum, right? If you've got a journey for a candidate that's too long, that candidate's going to just like walking a tightrope. The longer they're on it, they're going to drop off, right? You want to keep it succinct and really as short as possible, but as information packed as possible. So the data we're seeing is increasing. What we see quite a lot of the time, particularly from older tech, is the visibility is just the very first part of the journey. If you look at a CRM, I'm sure you've seen it all day long. If you get a website that's integrated with the CRM, that last touch point quite a lot of the time will just say website. So your source for that candidate is it came from a website. But how did they get there? What drove them there? What was that email that was sent out that had a bunch of jobs on for that lapsed candidate that we know are going to be tailored to them? So what we're seeing now is that data becoming more enriched, that data becoming better. It's not just about the last touch. It's about actually the touch that drove that user to that last touch. So in our world, our customers can see every single referring source for their candidates. They can also see that for all of their leads as well. And with partners like Bullhorn, where the API is so open, we can get all of that data in. So actually, marketers now are much more able to go to the board and say, look, I can tell you that based on this information, these are the number of candidates we've generated from this source, from this campaign, from this spend. And it then starts to build a much better case when you're looking to increase your budgets, because let's be honest, marketing costs money. But if it's spent in the right direction with the right data to back up them decisions, then it's an incredible investment that will long term help protect the business when the recruitment market, as it always does, takes one of its famous ups and downs, because that's what happens, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's really interesting. So I don't know if you know about this about me. So in my old job, um, I had to my first project I ever had to do was build a website. So I
Wow.
remember we went over to this. I'll never forget it. We went over to this design agency that did they weren't recruitment specific at all, and all we cared about at that point was just how we get the jobs on, which we're uploading manually every single time. And then it was all about just how it looked. We it was long before ChatGPT, so we got some terrible content, and I'll never forget some of the stuff that was on there. It haunts me. I just think this is such a terrible website now I think about it. But the only thing we could measure was how many candidates applied. And I only knew that because I got an email in my inbox every day with an applicants that had applied. This wasn't that long ago. This
No.
was 7 years ago.
Yep.
And it's amazing how that has changed now. And obviously, now my knowledge of recruitment, I was brand new in the industry, I had no idea. I didn't know candidate experience was a thing. But now it blows my mind that we even had that, and we were putting jobs on manually and closing them down manually, and we just had no data. And it's such a shame, because I know there must be really good candidates who probably are sitting in that inbox or hadn't been utilised by the recruiters. And what I thought was really interesting is you said something along the lines of, you don't have to collect loads of data anymore, and you're right, because CVs are overall, they're not always, but good quality, and then they pass on to the system, so you don't need to ask candidates loads of questions. And then actually what we've found is candidates who have applied, it's then really easy for us to then use automation to kind of engage with them and say, well, do you mind us asking X, Y, and Z? And they normally then do really want to, because they're so thrilled they've heard back from you already.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I mean, it's interesting to hear that journey in terms of, building a website. And still to this day, there are people I speak to where they don't have an integration. They're posting jobs manually, and then you look at a website and it's got 5 jobs on, but it's a 30-person agency. I mean, the rule of thumb would tell you probably expect 5 to 10 jobs per consultant as a minimum, right?
That's what we hope.
So where are they? There's massive bits of value that you're missing out there by not putting the jobs on there. People aren't finding them. It's not driving traffic to the website. It's not driving more applicants in. And again, coming back to what you said there about getting in touch with these candidates quickly. The one thing I'm seeing so much right now is that everybody is snowed under with candidates that are of, how can we say it, variable quality. The problem that creates for recruiters is that they've got to wade through, sometimes with text, sometimes manually, through this abundance of candidates that aren't quite right to try and find them gold medalists. They're looking for the winner. So again, one of the things that our customers have the benefit of is we're talking to people that have these challenges all day, and we're actively building technology to deal with these challenges. Don't want this to come across as a glorified sales pitch, because it's definitely not. But I think it's not a secret. Listen to your customers, understand what they're looking for, understand what their challenges are, and answer them. And very quickly, you've got a good, successful match, which is what we try and do.
And I think that's the same. Like you need to listen. You need to also listen to your candidates and clients and what they're saying, and what they're hopefully you're doing like net promoter scores and stuff to measure their satisfaction. But you also need to use the data to see what they're doing, because if everyone is dropping off, or if people are only on 2 pages of your website or what have you, then that's you need to use that to your advantage to make sure they're getting the right data at the right point. It's amazing how it's changed so much in the last few years, and how I know this is all kind of like marketing 101, but the combination of like candidate experience, journeys, the data, it really is making such a big impact in I can imagine what you guys do, and hopefully like for the greater good of the wider industry, really.
We know it's important. I mean, from day one of starting SourceFlow, one of the things that we wanted to do was to try and give clear visibility across that journey, right? Not just from what drove them to the website and then mapping that into the CRM, but then looking all the way through to things like placement, and then being able to pull back placement data and give people a pounds and pence on that revenue, right? And it sounds we're laughing, but it's incredibly hard still, because there's so much tech out there that doesn't accurately link together or pass that data on, or then you introduce another layer of something to try and make something faster, but what you're then doing is you're throttling the data you can get in, so it makes the whole process harder. And we're seeing an increase in direct integrations just to allow better data flow, to allow better visibility of that journey, and then more importantly, when we are capturing that source information, that's auto-populated. We're not relying on a consultant that's maybe had a bad day, that's got a drop-down box and clicks 1 or 2 because they're just the top ones on there. And you know, I've even been in business before where the top 1 and 2 have been renamed to not this one, not that one. So people actually have to go down and look.
I know.
Because
I still don't.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, unwittingly, what they're doing is they're making life harder for them, because marketers are there to help recruiters sell more, right? To actually raise the profile of the business.
Yeah, and recruiters aren't here to do admin. Now, I don't know any recruiter who's ever said, Holly, I love doing admin. I want to code my candidates and give them their source. They don't get that, nor are they marketing, and they don't understand that. So the more we can get them to do, the better. And I kind of see that as going to be the future of recruitment, and especially recruitment marketing, and all the technology, which is like we're doing as much as we humanly can for the recruiters, so they can focus on calling the right people at the right time with the right message. Like that's my perspective of it. And I think getting the candidates through, matching them for the jobs and vice versa, having that data backup is going to be key. Like what trends do you kind of, I suppose, maybe see coming up, or what are you guys working on, if you're able to share it over the coming sort of months and years, that you think is going to drive this even further forward?
I think there's I mean, in our business, there's multiple different things that we're working on, as always. We pride ourselves in innovating, and it's very fast paced. It's great. You know, we're all involved, and a lot of that feedback comes from talking to people like yourself, talking to our customers, talking to prospects when we're pitching, asking them about the challenges they've got. And then what we do is we take it all back to the team and we actively start to build tech. Now, no surprise, AI features quite big on our roadmap. We've got multiple different AI features that we've already built and deployed, and a number of them that are coming down the line. We embrace it because, like we said before, it's not going to replace good recruiters. It's going to help them do the things they need to do that add value, and the mundane stuff AI can take control of that. I mean, already we've launched an AI job search. I think we're the first to market with it, which allows candidates to just drop a CV in and evaluate that CV. The premise of it, I'm not going to bore you too much with it, but the premise of it really is to try and give our clients a much more highly qualified pool of a smaller pool of more highly qualified candidates, and actually remove those speculative people that we're getting already. I guess going forward, you know, we talked about attribution. The big ticket item that we're looking at now is to actually piece that whole journey together. So with Bullhorn, one of the things that we know is we can get lots of data in and lots of data out. One of the big things that we're working on now is being able to pull back placement data and actually then start to, within a number of different reports, allow our clients to really understand the revenue they're getting from all of these different sources, from their website, from their marketing efforts, but ultimately get it in one place that's easy to slice and dice and manage that data.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Like we've had several conversations over the last few weeks about like just random bits about ROI, and we met up at the Rec Expo, and we were talking about one of the challenges that our client had surrounding some of their data. Then I was like, I'd recommend you do this and this and this, and we've kind of really started collaborating to make sure these products really are embedding into the system. And I think having the AI kind of functionality, I think, is going to be a game changer for not just agencies, but for the candidates as well. And I think that will really help them kind of like get jobs as based on their skills, right? Rather than what they think they should be a good fit for. And we've kind of got to embrace this all. And I think having the real reporting at the heart of all of this is going to make a substantial difference as well, not to, again, to recruiters, and will allow agencies to make the decisions that they should be doing to move this forward. It's exciting, and I can imagine if we have this conversation this time next year, that's going to be we'll be, oh yeah, we've done the AI stuff, that's old now. It's going to be, we don't even know. It's exciting, right?
Absolutely agree. I think data is going to be the key, right? Having a clear, accurate data, all of that data exposed, but more importantly, having that data in your source of truth. That is weirdly always been a problem. we now know that that's there, right? We now know that, but what's the next step, right? We want to just show people. Ultimately, what do the C-suite want to know? They want to know the revenue, right? They want to know the money. So what we want to do is show that money, right? And I think AI is going to help us accelerate that. I think those that embrace it are going to do well. I think it's natural. People are concerned and scared of new things, right? But we've had a lot of acceleration in the last, well, let's say since COVID. Like the world is moving fast. AI is moving fast. Embrace it, get on it, use it. It's going to be your best friend if you use it in the right way and just help you to achieve things quicker and drive more revenue.
There we go. That was a fantastic way to end. I love that. And I'm really excited to see all this stuff you guys have got coming out in the coming weeks and months. So yeah, good luck with all of that sort of stuff. Exciting. And if anybody wants to reach out to you or the team, what is the best way for them to do that?
If anyone wants to reach out to us, number of different ways. You can get me on LinkedIn, Craig Howard. I think it's Craig Howard RecTech. I snagged that one quite early, a long time ago. Or reach out to us via the SourceFlow website. If you look at the SourceFlow website, there's lots of information there of case studies of how well we've done with our clients, multiple different CRMs that we work with. Don't just work with Bullhorn, but of course, Bullhorn is probably one of our biggest partners where we have an awful lot of clients with them. So have a look at that. There's lots of added value. There's downloadable guides, ebooks, all sorts of things. And if you want to have a demo, drop a demo request in or get in touch with me directly on LinkedIn.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for joining. I hope everybody who's been watching has found it really useful. If you want to reach out to any of us, you know where we are. And I hope you will have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks so much.